Hello, I'm Dr. Paul Kelly, Clinical Director and founder of the Mindfulness Clinic in Toronto. This video offers some advice for people who are considering psychotherapy. The cook is more important than the recipe. What does this mean? Let's have a look. Psychotherapists use various methods and techniques. We could call these recipes. Over 400 different kinds of psychotherapy have been developed. That's a lot of recipes. So with so many choices, how can you tell what would be best for you if you need some therapy? Which recipe is best? If you were to ask different cooks, would you be surprised if each of them told you that their recipes were the best? They would all be enthusiastic, whether they had learned recipes for Indian, Italian, Chinese, or French cooking. But all of these kinds of cooking can keep people healthy and strong. So cooks may have preferences, but no one kind of recipe is really the best. It's the same thing with psychotherapy. All of the modern kinds of psychotherapy are beneficial, but no one kind of therapy is better than all of the others for most problems. Are you surprised to learn this? I was too when I first found out, but the evidence is very compelling. This book, for example, The Great Psychotherapy Debate, summarizes 30 years of research from over 12,000 studies. No one kind of psychotherapy is better than all of the others. So let's come back to our question. How to decide what to do if you need psychotherapy? Part of the answer is this. Pick a kind of therapy that makes sense to you and that feels right for you. Since all of the major types of therapy are equally effective for most problems, it's fine to pick whichever one you like. But remember this, even if the recipes, types of therapy are equivalent, some cooks, therapists, are better than others. And it's crucial that you find a good cook, an effective therapist. Why is it so crucial to find an effective therapist? Here's the answer. Some of the benefit that you get from therapy depends on the type of therapy, but up to 8 or 9 times more of the amount of benefit depends on who your therapist is. Some therapists are consistently more effective than others. If you find an effective therapist, you'll end up saving time and money, and you'll ensure that the therapy that you get will be as beneficial as possible for you. So how to tell if a potential therapist will be effective? Let's get a clue from food cooks. Cooks do much better when they get feedback. Was there too much garlic or too little? Cooks know how to ask, so they can tailor their recipes to the needs and preferences of the people that they're serving. Therapists, too, are much better when they systematically get feedback from their patients. In fact, as this book demonstrates, patients benefit greatly when their therapists ask for feedback. What are these benefits? Therapists who collect feedback become twice as effective overall. Their patients improve twice as quickly, and dropouts decrease by as much as 50%. So you can see that patients really benefit when their therapists collect and use feedback from every therapy session. With feedback information, therapists can also check to see how effective they really are. Would you be surprised to hear that most therapists who don't collect feedback overestimate how effective they are? Let's have a look at results from 2 surveys. In the first, therapists were asked to rate how good they were from A+ to F. Over 2/3 rated themselves as A or A+, and none of them rated themselves as below average. In the second survey, 90% of therapists rated themselves as in the top 25% for effectiveness. But these numbers don't add up. So the surveys show that lots of therapists must think they're better than they really are. Why would they have this false impression about their effectiveness? Therapists often believe that they're effective because of their years of experience, amount of training, professional credentials, or whether they've been in therapy themselves. Would it surprise you to learn that none of these things reliably predict how effective a therapist will be? A lot of therapists would be surprised too, but the research is clear. Lots of therapists overestimate how good they are. So, if most therapists don't really know how effective they are, how can you, as a prospective patient, find an effective therapist? The best way that I know of to find an effective therapist is to pick one who collects feedback at every therapy session. As we have seen, these therapists are twice as effective and their patients improve twice as quickly. Therapists who collect feedback can also calculate an effectiveness score to demonstrate how good they are at helping their patients improve. With feedback information, then, they can measure how effective they are, and they don't end up with false beliefs about it. I believe that all therapists should be collecting feedback. Now that we know how important and helpful it is for our patients, this only makes sense. Feedback is also easy to collect. Let's have a look at an example about how to do it. The outcome rating scale just takes a minute to complete. It's done at the beginning of each therapy session. If you were the patient, you would put a mark on each line to indicate how well you've been doing in the past week for different aspects of your life, including personal well-being. Then, at the end of this session, you could complete the session rating scale. It gives additional feedback so the therapist and you can make sure that the sessions are right for you. Then, if there is a problem, it can be identified quickly and fixed. Therapists can use inexpensive software to collect and analyze information from the rating forms. Then they always know if their patients are progressing quickly enough. If there's a problem, it gets caught early, and the therapist and patient can work together to get therapy back on track again. The software also makes it easy to calculate an effectiveness score, which lets the therapist know how effective they are overall. I'm very passionate about ensuring that patients at my clinic get very effective help. That's why I and the 20-plus therapists who work with me collect feedback for every patient visit. Feedback works. Over the years that we've been collecting feedback, the effectiveness score for therapy at our clinic has steadily improved. Let's have a look at what our feedback shows from over 2,500 patients and over 12,000 patient visits. The feedback shows clearly that therapists at my clinic are effective therapists. Effectiveness scores can be rated as small, moderate, or strong, and our score of 0.8 is a strong score. For comparison, I have also displayed scores for some medications and other therapy clinics. You can see that our therapists are much more effective than antidepressant medication. Our therapists are also more effective than therapists on the graph who did not collect feedback. This is what we'd expect because we know that patients do much better when their therapists collect feedback. I said at the beginning that I would give some advice for people who are considering therapy. Let's have a look at what we've learned from this summary of the up-to-date research about the effectiveness of psychotherapy. Psychotherapy works, and all modern therapies are equally effective for most problems. So don't worry too much about the type of therapy. Just go with an approach that makes sense to you. It is crucial that you find an effective therapist because who the therapist is contributes up to 8 or 9 times more of the outcome of your therapy than the type of therapy. How to find an effective therapist? The best advice I can give is to pick a therapist who collects feedback for every patient visit. If you contact a therapist or a clinic, also ask them about their effectiveness score. If they have a score in the range of 0.8, then you can trust that they're effective. I hope that you'll be able to find an effective therapist who can help you meet your needs and goals. This is my contact information. Please feel free to contact me. Thank you.